Imagine this. You walk into a room and people glance at you, not with awe, not with envy, but with a strange discomfort they can't explain. You didn't say anything. You didn't do anything. But something about you unsettles the air. You are too calm, too quiet, too observant. They might call it mystery or even arrogance, but it's neither. It's depth. And in a world addicted to surfaces, depth is often misunderstood as danger. You are the kind of person who feels everything too much but speaks too little. You notice the slight shifts in tone, the subtle betrayals in a smile. Crowds exhaust you. Small talk feels like betrayal. Noise overwhelms you. Yet silence, real silence, feels like home. You've always sensed that you were different, but you never knew if that difference was a wound or a gift. And in that confusion, you've learned to hide your light, to shrink your presence, to apologize for your insight. Because being rare in a world that rewards the obvious can feel like being wrong. But what if you're not wrong? What if your stillness is a form of wisdom? What if your solitude is not isolation, but initiation? What if the very things that made you feel out of place are the exact things that make you vital? This video is not about how to become someone else. It's about remembering who you are and reclaiming the power that comes with having a rare, unshakable, and often invisible kind of presence. If any part of this feels like it's about you, stay with me. We're just getting started. There is something unsettling about walking through life with a sense of being out of place, not because of arrogance, but because of a quiet intuition that you see things others don't. You notice details that go unnoticed, feel silences that others talk over, and are moved by the undercurrents of a room long before a word is spoken. This isn't superiority, it's sensitivity. And in a world that rewards noise and surface, that sensitivity often feels like a burden. You're not built to just consume and perform. You're wired to observe, to question, to feel the pulse beneath the chaos. And that sets you apart. Most people live in a rush of distraction, running from discomfort, from silence, from themselves. But if you're the kind of person who finds peace in solitude, who isn't afraid to sit with the uncomfortable questions, then chances are you carry an aura that is rare. Not because it's flashy, but because it's grounded. It doesn't scream, it resonates. This kind of presence is often misunderstood. You may be the person others confide in, but never truly know. The one who gets called intense or mysterious because you don't waste words. The one who listens more than you speak, not out of shyness, but because you value depth over noise. You don't crave the spotlight. You carry your light within, and it shines most brightly in the shadows where others fear to look. You're not always easy to categorize, and that can make others uneasy. Society wants people to fit into neat roles, predictable, manageable, safe. But you're none of those things. You shift, you question, you grow. And that scares people who have built their identities around certainty. They'll call you distant, aloof, even cold. But you know it's not coldness, it's discernment. You don't open easily because your energy is sacred. You've learned the cost of giving it away too freely. You may have felt invisible at times, not because you lack value, but because your value is not always visible. You offer depth in a shallow world, and that makes you hard to define. But those who truly see you, see everything. There's a reason you're drawn to silence, to the stillness of night, to books that explore the soul rather than the surface. There's a reason why small talk drains you, and why you'd rather sit in contemplative silence than pretend to laugh at things that don't move you. You crave truth, not just intellectual truth, but emotional and spiritual alignment. You want to live in a way that's real, even if that means carrying the weight of things others ignore. Carl Jung once said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. But you, perhaps without choosing it, have walked that path. You've seen your own shadow, or at least sensed it stirring beneath the surface. And that confrontation, painful as it is, has refined you. The rare aura you carry is not the result of talent or charm. It's the result of having faced yourself and continuing to do so, even when it's brutal. You've likely asked yourself, why do I feel everything so deeply? Why do I sense people's pain before they speak? Why do I find it hard to just go along with things everyone else seems okay with? These are not signs of dysfunction. They are signs of awareness. You are not broken, you are awake. And there is a loneliness to awakening. Not because you want to be alone, but because you refuse to be numb. You've tasted the kind of solitude that isn't about withdrawal, but about clarity. You've walked away from noise to hear your own voice again. And in doing so, you've discovered that true strength often looks like stillness, that courage sometimes means sitting with pain instead of avoiding it, that integrity means being misunderstood rather than compromising your soul to be accepted. People often think rare auras come from perfection, but the truth is, they come from scars, from losses that made you wiser, from betrayals that made you careful, from pain that taught you how to love better. Your energy is rare not because you were spared suffering, but because you didn't let suffering close your heart. You stayed soft in a hard world. That's the real miracle. You don't need to advertise your depth. It's felt in your presence, in the way you make people feel seen, in how you hold space for silence without making it awkward, in the way your words linger long after you've left the room. You don't chase connection, you cultivate it, slowly, deliberately, with the kind of reverence most people have forgotten. You may never be the loudest voice in the room, but you'll be the one people remember when the noise fades. You won't always be surrounded, but when you are, it's by people who resonate with your truth, not just your image. You won't fit into every crowd, but you weren't meant to. You were meant to be a lighthouse, not a mirror. So if you've ever felt like you're too much or not enough, like you're living in a frequency others can't quite hear, know this: you're not alone. You're not broken. You are just rare. And the world needs rare. It needs people who feel deeply and think clearly. People who ask hard questions and live soft answers. People who carry pain with grace and offer kindness without a scoreboard. People who are willing to be real, even if it costs them popularity. You are not here to entertain. You are here to awaken. And every time you choose truth over ease, silence over noise, growth over comfort, you light the way for others, quietly, steadily, unshakably. That is your power. That is your presence. That is your rare aura.